so glad to say I made it this far. Never thought my life would be this hard. Glad, so glad.
Can't believe it. And now I'm here.
I'm here today, just doing my own thing,
I wanted to kind of touch on the R. Kelly situation to get your perspective on, what I've kind of seen online as far as being able to separate a gift from character. As you know, I'm sure you know how impactful R. Kelly has been in my life musically. He has inspired pretty much everything that I do. And I'm conflicted now because now being informed of all of the things that he's done through the years to, young black girls has really affected me and has made me almost ashamed that I've been impacted musically by him. So for me, the question has been, can you separate the man from the music? And I don't know how to do that anymore. A friend of mine said, well, he's still the king of R&B, but, he's a monster too. And I said, well, I can't even call him the king of R&B anymore, because if he did what they're saying he did to these women to my daughter, I wouldn't be able to continue to call him the king.
Exactly.
So it seems like a lot of times, we only stand up for something when we're affected by it.
That's very true.
So I want to know what your opinion is on just all of those just different points.
Well, because there's so many different points.
There's layers.
Well, you can it's difficult. There's so many layers because I think as African Americans, because we have been so consistently marginalized in general as it concerns justice, that it's hard to see this happening to a black person and not feel like it's part of some larger conspiracy.
Yes, because of what we've been through.
Because of what we've been through. That's just facts. Literally people are gunned down in the street by white police officers and then they get off. You know what I mean? So that's a real reality today in 2019.
Right.
So this same kind of overarching criminal justice system, we don't trust. You know what I mean? So that's separate and apart from, let's just deal with that as a fact. The criminal justice system is messed up. Yes. Also, though, which is equally as important and is equally as a fact, is R. Kelly could also be a molester and a rapist. Those two things can exist at the same time. And that's what I'm really trying to help people understand, is that, it doesn't have to be either or.
Right.
Yes, the criminal justice system can be messed up, but R. Kelly can also be a messed up person, I almost cursed, messed up person, and he could get ready, he could be getting implicated in stuff that happened years ago. What we also have to realize too is that sometimes we don't realize the gravity of what's happening and how history will reflect back on it. So for example, I use this example for people who understand the crime bill back in the 90s, which the Clintons got behind.
This is good.
Joe Biden got behind. A lot of your Democratic senators who've been in the game 20 and 30 years were behind this crime bill. And we look back at that.
Explain the crime bill.
Okay, so the crime bill crime was bad in the 90s. Let's just deal with that. If you were from a larger urban area and were of age and comprehension to understand in Chicago, in New York City, in Los Angeles, in these larger metro areas, crime was terrible. And it was bad in black communities.
So they had to create something.
They had to do something.
Control
it was so bad,
legislators
had to do something. And what was most astounding about this at the time was that you don't view the Democratic Party as pro prosecution. That's really a Republican thing. But that's one of the things that got Bill Clinton reelected for a second time, was that he kind of ran on that. Anyway, nonetheless, crime was so bad, black women, black mothers were behind this at the time. And now in 2019, we look back and we realize that people are in jail for let me give a little bit more clarity on what it was that the crime bill meant that if you got charged 3 times, that you were going to jail for life. That was it. No matter what the three things were, you going to jail. Like, so people's third charge could have been shoplifting. There are people behind bars today in 2019 because that was their third charge. So what it did was it stripped the judicial branch from decision making and autonomy. So like a judge's right or a judge's purpose within our constitutional framework is to look at a case and judge. That's their literal title, is to judge a case. So a judge should be able to say, all right, sis, this is your third charge, but it's only shoplifting, so I'm going to give you a year and a half on Rikers. Get your act together. Constitutionally, at that point, because of three strikes being passed, judges couldn't do that. They had to, on the third charge, send you to jail for life, right? That's what the crime bill did. So again, 2019, we look back at that in history and say that probably wasn't the best thing to do at the time. You know what I mean? So like we get to now judge this, what we did in the 90s, through a different lens because we have new information now. We're able to look back and be like, you know, we was throwing a lot of people in jail and that wasn't probably the best way to handle this. Right. The same thing is happening right now with Me Too. And a lot of people feel like, oh, Me Too is just BS and why are these people now just coming forward and all of this type of stuff. You have to realize new information is out now and how society judges concepts and how society judges behaviors has changed. So now we're looking at stuff again in the 90s through the lens of Me Too. True. So like I remember being in elementary school or in middle school looking at R. Kelly pee on a girl. I watched that with my own eyes. So like,
but it didn't affect me.
It didn't affect me the same way. No, it just didn't. It was messed up, and we just kind of like, you know, whatever happened with it was whatever happened with it. I actually don't even remember that being litigated. We were young, just kind of like whatever. Imagine that coming out today. Imagine that going viral today. So we have to realize that like a lot of things that were happening in the past, specifically with sexual assault, are being judged or being filtered through a different lens. You know, so like it's not that, oh, why are they doing this now? Right. There are a lot of people getting implicated in sexual assault. It's not just black people. And it's not just Bill Cosby. Okay, so for example, for one, I see a lot of people saying, you know, y'all got a list of ways y'all gonna sympathize with black rapists, which is a whole nother conversation. But I see a lot of people saying that white people aren't. I don't see this happening to white people. That is just a lie. That's just factually not true. White people are going to jail and are losing their positions and are losing their jobs because of sexual assault, because of Me Too. Prime example, Kevin Spacey, touching young men. He was written out of a show that he executive produced. He wrote House of Cards. They wrote him out of the 6th season of his own show. And there are more charges to come for Kevin Spacey. Like, it's not like, as of today, no more people would ever be charged because R. Kelly was charged. Like, the world isn't over today. So, like, yes, more people will be charged. Harvey Weinstein. People, y'all love calling Harvey Weinstein name. But again, when you are getting your news from the shade room, then you don't get real world news all the time. Which is, again, if y'all gonna follow the shade room and Baller Alert and all, because I follow those pages too, you got to follow CNN and NBC and CBS too. So you got to get the news from news sources, and you got to get the tea from the tea sources. So it's okay to follow those pages, but that can't be your primary source of news because you'll judge the world through an African American lens. So Harvey Weinstein is out on $1 million bail. He, like, what are we saying? He's out. He's rich, but he's out on $1 million bail. He's being charged. He's going to trial. He had the money to get out. He's wearing an ankle bracelet. He had to surrender his passport. But y'all don't know that because y'all laughing at memes. And y'all are thinking that because Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC at some point, that's why he's behind bars. Y'all have to get real factual news and research this for yourself. Since the conception of #MeToo, 201 powerful men as of December of 2018 have been implicated in crimes. 201. Most of them are white. So the fact that it's only R. Kelly and Michael Jackson that's dead and Bill Cosby, we doing okay on an average. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's not make this like, oh, the criminal justice system is just trying to take black people down, which might be true, but R. Kelly might also be a real life rapist who needs to go to jail. You know what I mean? Like, those two things can be true at the same time. So that's just my frustration. I hope that answered your question.
That was great. And you gave a lot of information that even helped me, because a lot of times we watch what supports us.
Absolutely.
And I
which
think
is dangerous.
It could be dangerous, you know, when
because
we're watching these different sites and things like that.
Because, see, here's the thing about how media has changed in general, is that we don't have to sit around TV at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock and get our news from CBS. I can literally just go online and look for news to confirm what I already thought. And if you don't believe me, that's what right-wing Republicans do. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody now can just look for news to confirm their bias. You know what I mean? So, like, as a black person, not saying necessarily we're doing anything different than anybody else, but if you're only following these pages and aren't getting a bigger, broader kind of scope of what's going on in the world, you will think that this is only happening to black people. And that's just not true. It's just not.
Now, and to help the people, Jeff, we have experienced a lot of just lopsided.
Of course.
So I do understand where we come from with, well, did you all do this to that person, or did you all do this to that person? And,
I think that's fair to a degree. The problem is it skirts the person who actually committed a crime from being accountable.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, in fairness, the criminal justice system needs to be reformed, all the way from sentencing, law enforcement needs to be reformed. There should be a nationwide initiative to train police officers with...
Right.
I'm supposed to be getting off, right? You don't know what you're talking about. You sure?
No.
That ain't what this saying do.
You just turn that off.
Oh, because... Okay, whatever. All right, yeah, so I think that's fair. I don't think black people are wrong for thinking that. I just think we also need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And as much as our judicial and criminal justice system should be reformed, black people who commit crime should go to jail. So, like, you know, there's not this larger conspiracy to take down black people or to take down black icons. First of all, we got R. Kelly isn't the pinnacle of black icon. Like, we have some left. You know what I mean? It's not just Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. Like, there are literally at least 100, or if not hundreds, of black people who are out here doing their thing that aren't being implicated in sexual assault. So, like, to suggest that, like, because R. Kelly and Bill Cosby and possibly Michael Jackson, who's dead, might be implicated in a crime or might be accused of sexual assault means that there's this bigger conspiracy to take down black icons, as if there won't be any left. It's just complete nonsense. But again, I just don't want it to have to be either or. Like, it can be both. I forgot what the other thing was you asked.
No, that was it.
Just doing my own thing.